Well, I was born and raised in Star City. But my dad's first cousin lived in the apartments next door. Her son was a doctor, and he had those apartments built with her in mind. So she lived over there, and so we knew her and so on. So she also was good friends with Mrs. Rottlbaugh. Okay, so they were good friends. So Janet, she liked the looks of the house, you know. So anyway, this house came up for sale, and I'm backtracking now, but the Mrs. Rottlbaugh, after she passed away, it became the property of the Society of Precious Blood. I believe that was the name of it. And so they had an auction right across the street in the school basement over here. And there were about 10 or 11 people who were interested, all lined up. And of course I was in line, and it got down to 2 or 3, and finally it got down to 2, and finally I got the bid. And I'll never forget that, because Janet came running up and gave me a hug. I mean, that was sort of unlike something she would do. But anyway, that was my remembrance of that. Dr. George Thompson built the house, I think, in 1893, after he passed away or left the area. Mr. Rottlbaugh, who was a judge, attorney, I think, he got the house. He died. His wife got it along with the Society of Precious Blood. Then we got it, and we've had it now since 1975, and raised all our kids, and they're all gone now. But anyway, that's the story, and Janet liked it. We wanted it to look original. That was Janet's goal, I guess. So anyway, we got a guy who came and redid the grout, and that's the way it looks now. And I can't remember, we added a few things. I think that the porches and stuff, you know, needed to be repaired. We did a few things like that, but for the most part, as you can see, the woodwork and everything is original. And we tried to leave it that way, pretty much. We worked on the 3rd floor. It was never finished. You know, it was just an attic, more or less. And so we worked on that. We insulated around it. We put in a skylight up there to give it more light so it wouldn't be such a dark place. And the kids used that for friends to come down and have a place to play, I remember. I think it was built around 1873, and he was a businessman here in Winamac. Fact of the matter, I think maybe he worked at the bank at one time. Later on, after he passed away, why, the Falveys purchased it, and they lived there for several generations, I guess, probably from 1900 to whenever we bought it in 1999, I think.
I'm assuming Janet was the driving force?
Of course.
Do you know what she liked about this house?
Well, she liked the fence, for one thing.
Okay.
The fence, it needs paint, it needs work. People always want to know about why the symbols on the gates, which I don't have the answer for. But I've had a lot of people want to buy them, because there are, I think, 3. Binkley's had this house listed. I told Janet I didn't want to do it. I don't need another house. We argued around, but I said, I'll just make an offer and then we can be done with it. And guess what? Now I own it. Anyway, she just liked the house. And, you know, she loved it. She loved picking out the colors to paint it with and so on. And she's tried to make it as near original as she could. That was one reason they took the storm windows off. Anyway, it had storm windows on it. And Janet would not stand for that because they had squared off the windows so they could put them on. So we had to take all the storm windows off. The widow's walk up on the top, which there was a fire up there, and I think that it was accessible at the time because there was a stairway that's still up there in the attic, which I assume came down after the fire and they never put it back. I'm hopeful that maybe someday when I get it cleaned up and fixed up a little, we can put this one on the National Register also.